Hello, hello, hello. I am Phantom Enchantress, and I was away for a little bit. Um, I seem to be heavily involved with how to use a Ouija board, and as much as that is a very powerful divination tool, what's even more powerful is the art of tarot. Now, there's a lot of mysticism involved with tarot, and it's one of those things that was misconstrued. There was a man that apparently came from Europe and had seen that there were certain gypsies that had cards that had some sort of Egyptian symbols. And so he thought to himself, well, they must be from Egypt, not, having anything to back that up. When in actuality, tarot started with the Italian aristocrats. So tarot, however you want to say it, tarot was one of those things that was there to tell a story. It was there to tell a story about the court, or a story that you would want to tell. Now, it was used within not only in Italian aristocrats' homes, but also in the royal court, which is why there are cards that are known as the royal, there's actually a genre of tarot. So you have major arcana, minor arcana, and then you have the court cards. And the reason being is that Italian aristocrats and royalty would use the tarot cards to let people know what was going on in the court. And you could be disruptive or while you were in court, or you could very well, and when I mean court, I don't mean like Judge Judy, I mean the court, with the fancy little mole and the white face and the poofy hair, think of King Louis and that kind of thing. So they often would want to keep themselves occupied, because a lot of times when you were in the court, there wasn't a lot to do. So the card was then brought from the home to the royal court, of course. And how many times can I say that? And so, however, somehow something got misconstrued to the point where these beautiful cards were demonized. And the reason because is a lot of us have amnesia when it comes to our history. We assume because, and a lot of people work this way, is it's through association. But if you look at history, there's really no association to magic with tarot. There's witches that do it, yes. There are Christians that do it. There are all sorts of people that do it. Does it tell you the future? No, it does not tell you the future. What tarot is merely a alternative method of looking at your life and figuring out what you can do to change your life. You're going to find a lot of things that you already know. You might find some things you don't know. And it's so flexible because there's so many different spreads, as well as different meaning you could put the cards to where they're across, which is known as the Celtic cross, believe it or not. But tarot is not divination. It does not tell you the future. It may have some divination aspects to it, but it is not a mumbo jumbo, okay? You know how, I don't know if you've always had one of those books that are on the coffee table that has like scriptures, and you would open it up and it would have a quote, like a happy quote for you, or a Bible quote or something like that. It didn't have to be a Bible quote, but, and it would say, today's blessing is, that is what tarot is. It is not, I am going to be doing this in the future. No. It can say, it can point to something that might have happened, that is happening now. And it could point to something that might happen if that might happen. Because the future is really not ours to judge. It's really not, when you tell someone's their future, it's like, that's what people go into that tent at the Renaissance Fair thinking they're going to get their future. I thought that too. And I was pretty disappointed because I figured out, oh, it's literally just saying, it's telling your story, okay? It's telling your story, and it's saying, this is your story, okay? That's what it does. It's a card that tells frickin' stories. I don't know who, but I'm gonna tell you, some rando decided to come over to the States and said, "Oh, I saw the gypsies doing the tarot cards, and I think they have to do with Egypt, which means that it has to do with magic. It's all about magic." And I'm like, no, there's nothing really magical about it. The thing that is, I suppose, is magical is the fact that you can interpret it in so many different ways. Because a story, as you know, can have very many different perspectives as well. And it is all about your perspective and how you perceive it. And also, there are so many different kinds of tarot cards now. There are so many different kinds. You don't have to have a traditional one. You don't have to have one that has demons or blood on it. You can have one that has pink ponies and rainbows on it. You can get an LGBTQ one. You can get any kind of theme that you could think of. The only thing that's different about each of these decks is literally they might reword some of them, but mostly the minor arcana. So the minor arcana is in 4 groups. There's cups, swords, pentacles, and of course wands. And then of course we have the major arcana, which would mean, the Empress, death, the devil, and a lot of people get weirded out about the devil. The devil, all that means in a reading is literally you're being a little too materialistic. And you don't have to take your reading negatively. Sometimes the cards may tell you something that is kind of on the negative side, but you don't have to take that negatively. You can take that as just positive criticism, meaning, yeah, you got a problem with this, but let's fix it, shall we? So, and it's really, the reason witches do that is because it's shadow work. And if you don't know what shadow work is, shadow work was developed by Carl Jung, Dr. Carl Jung. He was a psychologist. He is known as the fathers of psychiatry, and he believed that if everything that all the dreams that you've had, everything that let's say that you wanted to be a dancer, or you wanted to be a pilot or something, you put that on a shelf. Or there's something that you're holding back, anger, whatever. That is your shadow. That is the part of you might not want to show other people, or your triggers, or the things that you developed from trauma that is just not working. And you're looking at these triggers, you're looking at these problems that you have, and you're saying, what can I do to change them, and how can I prevent these triggers, and how can I prevent this shadow from just overtaking my life? And we all have a shadow, and we need to be like Peter Pan, okay? We need to sew our shadow on and recognize that shadow is us. That darkness is us. You cannot have dark without light, and I used to deny this, but I don't anymore, because I know better. There's a yin and the yang. In every culture that you can think of, there's always a balance. There's always something and one cannot live without the other. And for you to just say, I'm just going to be a light, happy, positive person is not realistic. You're going to have days where you want to cry. You're going to have days when you want to smash things. You're going to have days where you want somebody to swallow a hand grenade. Okay? That's okay. That's okay. Are you really going to do that? No, because you're going to be the better person and the bigger person. You're going to be an adult, hopefully. which is not much fun. I know, I've adulted before. But other than that, tarot is a very much like shadow work. And the great thing about this is it's not just a game. It's really deep reflection about what's going on in your mind, your heart, your very soul, and it is very cleansing for you, and you will find that your readings will change over time. So recording your tarot readings is really, really cool. Because you kind of grow with your tarot deck. And you can have multiple ones. Just like there are people that have different Ouija boards or people that have different divination tools, people have different tarot cards. And for whatever reason, sometimes, so there's nothing demonic about tarot cards. There is nothing demonic, because I can tell you a majority of people that use it are not getting possessed or putting hexes on people, and you know, it's like checking your horoscope. It's no more mystic than that, okay? Does it take a certain kind of belief? Not necessarily. You could take this as merely just a reflection on you know, a reflection on your subconscious, you know. And yes, you might get some cards that just don't make sense. Maybe I like to call those rogue cards that just don't really fit. And that's expected, because you are randomly taking cards out of there. Yes, I've had people that do have a certain magical ability. I think I'm one of them. But that will give you advice. And one of the most powerful things about tarot, when someone gives you a tarot reading, is the advice that they will give you. They will pair you, they will take a card and they will say, this is you, this is also you, this is what you're not going to do, you know. And that's what makes, that's what gives your reading character. It's not the fact, oh, we have a pretty deck, or, ooh, mystic mumbo jumbo. No, there's nothing really involved. As far as preparation for tarot, there's really not much involved. All it needs to do is really, if you're a believer of energy, and you believe that energies can contaminate other energies, and I know this, you know, how people say, well, nobody can make you feel anything. Bullshit. People can make you feel things by just looking at you, okay? And yes, we have the power to not allow that, but some people are very powerful, and they know that they're powerful, and they will use that power against you. And tarot is a way of kind of taking that power back. And that's why, you know, all that witchery is, you know, often all that witchery is involved, you know, I think I lost my train of thought, but okay. Probably wasn't that important. But yes, so I'm going to be showing you some of the decks that I have, which are really cool. So you can see the box here. This is the Lord of the Rings tarot deck. This is one of the first decks that I ever got. I had no idea what tarot was. I really had no clue. I was just like, oh, okay, what do we do with this? Oh, this looks cool. This looks pretty. So I got it, and changed my life. Literally changed my life. It gave me something to look forward to, gave me a structure. It's really good for journaling, because you can journal the heck out about, especially about these. And we have here a guidebook, which guidebooks are really cool. They're really cool to have, actually. But this is an actual, this will actually come, this actually unfolds. So as you can see, it's very detailed. And it has a sense of humor. What I love about descriptions when it comes to the guidebooks is when they have a sense of humor. That's awesome, because, you know, you're sitting there and you're going, yeah. So when you have a sense of humor, so instead of going, ooh, ominous, scary things, very scary, instead it's more of, that's funny. So when you put a little humor into positive criticism, it makes it better than instead of saying, somebody coming up to you and saying, you are wrong. You are stupid and you are wrong. Which is sometimes what we hear when somebody says that you need to change something, because we'll get into that defensive mode of like, I didn't do it. I didn't do that. It's my fault. And you know, try to, you don't want to be accountable for that. I get it. Accountability is, you know, really hard sometimes. Like, super hard. And anyhow, you can kind of see, we're going to actually put the deck in there. The only thing that's demonic about mine is that I have frickin' the evil nun there. She has been blessed, so she keeps this, safe. She's kind of like a seal, a little bit. I guess you could call that. Little guardian for my tarot cards. So typically when you get a deck, the Fool is on the bottom. I don't know what's on the top usually, but because I usually just mix them. So kind of what you want to do is mix them until you feel that you shuffle them however you want to do. Everybody has a unique way of shuffling it. Heck, you could throw them into the air and then gather them up and do it that way if you wanted to, but I don't recommend playing 78 pickup. Would not be 52 pickup because there's 78 cards in this. There's 78 cards in this, so I would not recommend doing that. Don't do that. Be respectful if you can, but if you want to, and that's how you roll, then, well, that's a personal preference. That's on you. To each their own. Whatever floats your boat. Do what you want. So, and then when you mix them, the whole point of mixing them is, of course, you know, you don't want them to be, because when they first come out of the box, they have an order. So, also another thing is you might want to switch them a little bit. So, because it does depend on it. So let's say let's say this card. Okay, I got this card. Okay, it's gonna mean something. It's gonna have a meaning this way. But if it's upside down, reverse, then it makes it a little bit interesting. And sometimes if you don't like what it is, let's say that you just don't like what this card has to say because it's in reverse or it's this way, just turn it around. Just turn it around. But also, it's good that you should probably, you know, if you're gonna do something like that, I would recommend kind of going like this and then kind of flipping them around so that they do so it keeps it interesting, keeps it random. But as I said, they do have an uncanny way of saying something. It's one of those things that there's no, like, wrong answers. Sometimes there's going to be a card that just doesn't fit. Other times it's just going to be, oh, So you get to decide which cards mean what to you. That's why it's one of those things where it's not like, oh my gosh, you know, it's the wrong reading. Oh no, it's wrong. Also keep in mind that if you're a believer of energy, and you believe that energy can be transferred from one thing to the other, don't be too hyper-vigilant about that. I know there are people that are like, I don't let anybody touch my cards. No, you can't touch them. You can't touch. I'm like, okay, first of all, if you're going to do a reading, they have to touch the cards, because that's one of the things that you do. You sometimes what you will do is the tarot reader will say, okay, I want you to take these cards and I want you to shuffle them when you think you're ready. They'll do that. And another thing that's going to happen is also another thing is their cards. Okay, how many times have cards actually been they're cards? Okay, they're not going to have everything 100% accurate. This could be very well a fictional story. If you want your tarot cards to tell you a fictional story, you can do that. That's what tarot's all about. Tarot is about creativity, it's about reflection, it's about sorting out your trauma, your PTSD, looking through your life and realizing and looking at all the dark places in a positive way. That is, but for each of us, it's a little bit different. So I can't say that that's what it is for everybody, because tarot is different for everyone that does it. And so this is one of my first decks. However, what was my second deck? My second deck was the Macabre Tarot. And I can tell you, so if you're having a reading, so let's say you're just by yourself, okay? You're by yourself, you're at home, you get a deck, and you're just getting these really shitty readings, like gloom and doom, you know, that kind of thing. It may be just the perspective that you're doing, or also, if you're a believer of energy and all of that, it may be the fact that you just didn't shuffle them enough. And the whole reason of shuffling isn't so much that to make everything random, but also it's getting your energy in there. So also make sure, I've done this before. Like one time I got a new deck and I was so happy about it, but then something happened during it that was rather negative, and it was so negative that every single reading that I got was like super negative. Like it was gloom, doom, and more doom than I can bear. It was just like, eventually though, I was able to get that bad energy out, and that's what shuffling is. Shuffling is kind of just, it's kind of like knocking the dust off of it, getting the bullshit off, and then also kind of what you're doing is you're transferring, not only transferring your energy, but you're perhaps also to check your energy a little bit. You don't have to be too hyper vigilant. You don't have to be like the energy. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be paranoid about that stuff. That's not necessary. You know, energy is energy, and eventually that energy is going to leave, and energy can be, that it can be taken out, it can be replaced. All of that is interchangeable. So I like this, but I don't like the, okay, the box has gotten annoying. Okay. Yeah, it creaks. It creaks. I'm thinking of actually taking the batteries out because I don't want, I mean, I don't have anything to hide, but still, it's like, and if you know, that's what I'm talking about. So, this actually has a book that comes with it. That's enough of that. I guess, yeah, I'm gonna take the batteries out of that thing. Like, it was really cute the first time that I got it, when I opened it, and I got it from a Oddities and Curiosity fair in Virginia City, actually. And it was hot as hell, and it was almost at 10,000 feet, and if you don't know, Virginia City was the place that put Ghost Adventures on the map. As soon as they got footage from there, they got themselves a show. So, there you go. That made history. But, we were right by the Mackey Mansion. I didn't get to go because you had to literally book the tickets, like I don't know, the first of the month or some shit like that. I don't know what it was. Yeah, this is a very unique one. It's not one of my favorites. It's just, I guess, it just is. It's just in my possession. I don't know why. It just is. It's here. That's nice, you know. I did do it a couple times. I think that I had to. The one thing though is it's you have to really mix them up. Like when I first got them, I mixed them a little bit and it didn't work. You know, you're gonna know. You're gonna know when something didn't work or when you didn't mix them correctly. And that may be just the fact that you just weren't really in a good state of mind when you're mixing them, because that can affect. I mean, just think about it. If you have energy, let's say that you have this energy that I'm hurt and I don't want to, be around anybody. That's going to affect and it doesn't matter how freaking confident you are. Someone out there is going to spot that energy and is either going to take advantage of that, or they may just be drawn to it, or they might just find that, oh, your energy complements mine. That's how I feel. But also, you feel shitty about yourself. Sometimes you attract shitty people. You manifest what you're putting out there. Now, does everything that we put out there come back to us? Not always. Not always, no. Some things don't always come back to us. I would like for that system to work, but life is not full of absolutes. There are no absolutes when it comes to life. There's always an exception. There's always something unexpected. And that's why I keep my mind open, because I don't want, let's say that I die tomorrow and I cross over to the other side, and I'm going to be a very fucking confused ghost, because I'm going to be like, nobody told me this. I thought I was supposed to be resting, and it's like, you never know, because anything that you do, whether it's in this life or the next, if you don't prepare yourself for the possibilities in the future, you are going to have one hell of a shocker when you realize that everything that you've put your hope and faith and belief in is not what's really going on. Now, your beliefs and your opinion are sacred, but there's going to be things in your life that is going to challenge your perspective and is going to challenge the way that you think the world works or the way that you see the world. And we are constantly changing, and we're meant to change. We're meant to grow. We're meant to learn. We have the potential to infinitely learn. There's not a point in your life where you're just going to say, darn it, I've been around too long, I'm not going to learn anything. And I get it. Sometimes people, especially when they get to be 80, they get to that point where they're like, yeah, I'm sick of this shit. I get that. Because they're tired, okay? You've been living a while. Yeah, I get it. I understand that. But, and then there's dementia, and that complicates things too. So, I do recognize neurological disorders as well as mental illness. Do I think that's an excuse for everything? No. I do not think age and mental illness is necessarily an excuse for toxic or abusive behavior. But when it comes to dementia, that person is not really, they're not in their right mind. They're not crazy. I don't believe they're crazy. I think, it can affect a lot of people, and I have known people that have experienced that, and it is very devastating, so I'm being respectful. But anyway, when it comes to tarot, it's, and with anything, is to keep an open mind, because one of these days, someone is gonna pull the rug right from under you and say, this is not how it works. This is not what's going on. You are very, very deceived. And the thing is, nobody can tell you that. Nobody can walk up to you and say, guess what? You're wrong. Because what you're going to say, because someone is going to correct you and tell you, this is how you should see the world. You're going to say, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to see things just because that's the way you see them, or I'm not going to agree with your opinion because it's easier. Because we are individuals and we are meant to have different opinions. We're meant to be all unique. Are we all, I think we're supposed to have diversity, but, we can also agree on certain aspects of those opinions rather than being all aggressive all the time, which seems to be most of social media. It's like nobody has any real, I mean, I have actually posted and said, this is my experience, and they have told me that, well, that is wrong. I'm like, how can my experience be wrong? Okay, I don't know how that works. That's like saying, that's just weird, you know, that's if I have an experience, I don't, I may not be, you know, the person that's in charge of that. I may not be like, oh, yeah, I had this experience because I put myself out there. No, some experiences we have is totally out of our control, but they do serve as lessons and reminders, and they can be wonderful tools that we can use, because when we do experience failure, that's when we learn. When we succeed at things, that's just smooth sailing. We don't learn how to sail when the waters are still, okay? We really learn when there's a storm. We really learn because we have to learn. You're in a situation and there's a storm coming, you have to learn fairly quickly. If you've been on a ship, if you've been on a fishing boat of any type, you learn fairly quickly, or you get sent off, or you die. You know, when it comes to fishing boats, you toe the line. You do what you need to do, or have the storm throw you off the ship. So that is one of the things that we need to learn, is that we aren't going to learn just because, oh yeah, this is easy. No, we learn from climbing upwards. We learn from developing those muscles and developing the skills in order to get from one step to the next. It is not something that we just automatically succeed at things. I know there's some people that seem to, especially when it comes to YouTube, where they're just like, yeah, I can do this so well. Do you know how many freaking times they had to do that? Look at the gamers. Do you think that they never made mistakes? No, they made mistakes. They died a million times. They did those things because they did those things until they got good at it. They put their mind to it and they got good, which is something anybody can do. Does that make them, does that mean that they're just ordinary? No, by no means. We do the things that we do in a unique way. Yes, somebody else might be doing the same thing, but we have a style, okay? We have a different style, and that's with tarot, is everybody has their own kind of style. And as you can see, I think I got this a couple months ago. Haven't really used it a lot, but when I was 5 years old, I was obsessed with the Nightmare Before Christmas. So I have the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot deck. I have used it today, and it doesn't do bad readings, actually. It's not bad, actually. And this also has a booklet. If you want to get a really good tarot deck, I would suggest not getting them from Temu or from AliExpress. I've done that, and they warped right away. They were made out of like really cheap paper. I mean, you probably could have made the paper yourself, kind of thing. Not that I know how to make paper, but okay. So yes, and the only thing that I don't like about this is, the descriptions aren't really, like, very clear. Like, it seems to be only doing, like it seems to be only giving you, like, one little message. It's almost like it was the Reader's Digest version of what a guidebook should be. And but they are very lovely if you can kind of see the pictures and the illustrations, and it's very lovely. I think the artwork is definitely a 10 out of 10 as far as effort of going, you know, like the illustrations are beautiful. But I would recommend, so if you're somebody that has no clue what tarot is, there's an app and called Galaxy Tarot. And yes, you can spend money in the app as most apps do, but you don't have to, because everything is essentially just available for you. And also Labyrinthos, as well as Biddy Tarot, which are online. You can access that anywhere. It's completely free. Are really good. Biddy Tarot is amazing. It's Biddy, which will give you really long descriptions of what's going on with that. So kind of a way, if you're confused and you're like, oh no, I can't interpret this, I can't, oh, guess what, look there, that is the table of contents, and that's usually in pretty much every guidebook. All you have to do is get the minor arcana down. The minor arcana is, of course, the cups, the swords, the wands, and the pentacles. So you have to look at the characteristics of each card. For instance, they have candles, presents, needles, and potions. Now potions, when you think of potions, you think of a drink, right? So that would be a cup. Needles, you think of something pointy, something that might hurt you. A sword, obviously. Candles, what is a candle shaped like? A wand. It's you know, it's round, it's long, and it's shaped like, you know, a wand. It's close enough, not really, but it's close enough. And then, of course, presents, which is kind of just an oddball when it comes to that. So presents meaning also pentacles. Pentacles are literally just the stars, and in case you're wondering what a pentagram is, it just means that you're one with nature, and you're one, it's just spirit. It's spirit, water, air, earth, and whatever else there is. I always forget them all, but it's all the elements, and your spirit is actually one of them. So it's actually a very peaceful symbol. But then the Church of Satan came about in 1969. Up to that point, we were using that symbol freely and without restraint. Now somehow it's like, get behind me, Satan! I'm like, that's not what a pentagram is, okay? It's not what you think it. You keep on using that word. I do not think that it means what you think it means. It's not. No. So that's how you can kind of determine. As I said, only thing that's going to be different is the four categories, which is the minor arcana. That's the only thing that's going to be different usually. Sometimes you might have to be a little bit more creative, because they will add things in there. They sometimes will substitute things. So for instance, if you have Queen of Cups, it might be Queen of Crystals. It might be Queen of the Unicorns, or Queen of RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know what set you're using, but maybe you're using one that I haven't heard of. I don't know. And then, of course, we have the Hocus Pocus. I have been following this movie since I was 5, okay? Same thing with Nightmare Before Christmas. These have been obsessions of mine. Bette Midler is an obsession of mine. The Divine Miss M, she's a goddess. I love her. But I have come to terms that as far as witchery goes, I am probably more of a Mary. I'm more of a Mary. I just am. I'm not really. I'm not. I know people that are like Sarah, but I am not Sarah. I am not a dumb blonde. I'm not a dumb blonde. I know you don't have to be blonde in order to be a dumb blonde, but I don't have that kind of complex. I'm not sitting there and going, amok, 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 amok. You know, I'm not doing things like that. So, I'm not oblivious like that. And she's not stupid. Being a dumb blonde isn't necessarily stupid. That just means you're a little bit slow when it comes to things. Like, you take things maybe a little too literally. You're kind of a space cadet. You don't know where you are at this time, and you don't really care. You know, you're just like, and I don't have that. There may be times where I seem to be like that, but I don't, I have layers, okay, because I'm an ogre. So I really love, the artwork. The artwork, yet again, is just exquisite. As you can see, it's just beautiful. These things, now, if you're gonna buy one, Amazon is a good place. Do not go to Temu or AliExpress. Don't get those little things that have, you know, this tiny little box that doesn't even protect it, and then it warps, and it doesn't even protect the cards, and the cards are usually, and then you try to scan for the directions, and the directions on the you know, that little pixelated you know, barcode thing, you know, the square, it doesn't work. Yeah, don't recommend getting, just because something is cheaper does not mean that's a good deal. A good deal is a $25 to $30 deck of cards, okay? That is a good deal. Hey, if you spend $40, hey, it's your money. You want to spend it $40 on one, go ahead. But usually $20 is the max. Well, $20 would be the minimum. I don't know what the max would be. Max! Get my cloak! No. Yeah, I just, and, the descriptions are quite good, actually. I like that. But, I would classify as a witch. I probably would classify as a Mary Sanderson, because Mary is, she has to, you know, sniff things, and I don't know if you like the smell of old books, but I do, and I'll just, you know, and it just brings, it's nostalgic for me, and I can't help it sometimes, okay? Smelling is part of the five senses. I have to have a full body experience, and although I don't necessarily want to lick it, so I know when you yeah, I'm not that territorial. I don't need to lick things and claim them as my own. I used to do that as a kid, but that was like when I was 4, so I am totally joking. I don't do that. I don't. Really, yeah, I'm actually looking at this and go, oh, I'm marveling at my own cards. It's awesome. It's awesome. So this is actually, one of the first times. So there was a really good friend of mine, and this is a huge ass box. It makes it look like, it's like, are the cards gigantic? Are they bigger than my face? What's going on here? No, it's not like that. So this is called the Wild Unknown Tarot deck, and I remembered there was a young man that I met, and I adored him, and he not romantically, mind you, but it was he says, would you mind if I do your reading? And you know, and I said, you know what, of course, you know. And this was a big step for me, because I used to be the very conservative Christian, no jewelry, no makeup, that kind of thing, very conservative. And for me to kind of step out on a limb like that was very daring for me. But it was the step, that one step was really the beginning of a greater future for me. It was a step of new beginnings for me. So, and I didn't realize it until I brought it home that it was the same deck that he used to give me my first readings. So this is a very sentimental kind of deck, and it reminds me of when I got my first reading. So, you know, the first reading that I was actually, you know, present. Other times, you know, maybe I might have done it at a Ren fair somewhere at one point, but so as you can see, it's got this really big, thick book. Geesh, I mean, this is like a real book. This is like I think that's what most of the box is for. But as you can see, you have this, and this is already coming apart. I haven't hardly used this, and so there's another box, a box inside a box. Imagine that. They do that in Amazon all the time. And then, yes, this is the size of the cards. And then, of course, may you always be on the inner quest, which is literally, it has a symbol of infinity, if you can kind of see that. There's a symbol of infinity. Infinity meaning, obviously, you know, you're going to have infinite journeys with this. And they're very plain as far as that, but when you look at them, they are literally, some of them actually have color, as you can see. You've got some that, like for instance, isn't this is just beautiful. Look at that. Look at the detail, the yin and the yang, the dark and the light, the fox, or cats. Are those cats? They look like foxes for a moment, because I wasn't really looking. So this is kind of what you would call scratch art. This is literally where you have a white substance underneath the black, and then you scratch out the details, and this is an actual art form. I've actually done something very similar to that. You can actually do it at home, but you can actually do it in different colors as well. And so this is a really cool deck, and I've never had any problems with this. I'm probably going to get more into it, but it doesn't seem to be a favorite. As far as spirits go, which I do give readings to spirits, believe it or not, they love it, and they love to get their reading. I have actually had spirits just get really excited about it. They'll be like, "Yay! You're going to do my reading?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to do your reading!" So I've done reading for many spirits. Some have departed. And, you know, the way that I see it is when people say, well, have they crossed over? Honey, when your soul has left your body, you've crossed over to something, okay? And sometimes crossing over isn't necessarily crossing over to, you know, the permanent home that they need to be. And sometimes for a spirit, paradise for them or heaven for them is being with their family. Other times it's just might not be something that they want. But there's always a possibility that a spirit can come back and can communicate with you in ways. And giving spirits tarot readings is actually really cool, because when you do that, you can actually figure out what's going on with them. And since they're energy, it's really easy for them. It's really easy for them to transfer their energy into the cards, so it's actually really cool. But you know, this also has this really cool, like, yeah, this is one of my, I think one of my favorites actually, because it's the sentimental, it's the nostalgia deck, darling. No, the nostalgia deck is here, I think. But yeah. And important to put them away. Put them away. Also, be respectful. Be respectful of them. These are cards. You know, don't chew on them. Don't you know, throw them across the room. Don't be like, ah, you know, like that. I did that to this because it's freaking annoying. Okay, I was disrespecting the box. You can disrespect the box. It's fine. But the actual cards I'm talking about, if it's the box can always boxes can always be replaced, okay? And believe it or not, they sell, um, they sell things to put these in. So if your box wears out, which it probably will after using it so many times, you can get something that can carry it. You can be creative. You can make your own. But this is the crown jewel. Make it so. Star Trek Tarot. Now, I'm just gonna say, I love this deck, okay? Hands down. I mean, sure, Nightmare Before Christmas is cute. Lord of the Rings is freaking awesome. Sure, Hocus Pocus is cool. And then there's that one that creaks. It's okay. I thought it was something special. It's not. It's just, it's there. But this is Star Trek, the Next Generation Tarot deck. I did not think there was such a thing when I saw this. I thought, why is there such a thing? And then I thought, why not, right? Right? Like, why not? Why not? And this is one of them that has a sense of humor. It's an intellectual sense of humor, but it is funny. And I like the fact that Data is the Fool. And in case you're wondering, Data, not Data, but the Fool as a card. When you get the Fool in your spread or on wherever you're putting, your cards, hopefully a flat surface and they're not sliding all over the place. But when the Fool, when that shows up, that means somebody who is going on a journey, not really expecting there to be a destination, but they just want to, it's like when somebody wants to drive, they just want to drive. They don't want to necessarily go anyplace, they just want to drive. It's that kind of aspect. It's Bilbo Baggins. That's why with this one, Bilbo is actually, I think, like, Frodo was the fool, He didn't exactly expect that he was going to go anywhere. He wasn't really, he knew where he was going, sort of, but it was kind of just, it's the journey, really, that matters. And so the Fool is definitely with that. A fool isn't necessarily a fool. It just means somebody that is beginning a journey or has a potential to begin a journey. So if it's upright, that means you've just begun. Now, if it's reverse, it's you have the potential of starting a new journey. So it might happen it might happen. It might happen. That's the thing with tarot. It doesn't really tell your future. It's kind of saying, well, if tarot was a person, I'm going to tell you, it would probably be like, you know what, you're doing really well right now, and you have these really awesome okay, you're really good at cooking, you're so awesome at cooking, or you just have the most beautiful singing voice, and you know what, if you keep at this, you might open some doors. Who knows? I don't know. Nothing's set in stone, but it could happen. But anyway, yeah, you might want to focus more on your vocals, maybe. That's kind of tarot. That's tarot. That's not like, it is not Professor Trelawney played by Emma Thompson. Oh, is there beyond? It's not that. When we think of divination, we think of that, and that's not divination. That's, I don't know. That's Hollywood. No, that's not really. It's not very realistic. But this is one of my favorites. I've been using it lately, and a lot of people actually. It has an uncanny way. It's a little bit uncanny sometimes. But I like how like one of my favorites, I think, is the description for the fool. And this is what happens if you get it reversed. If you get this and you get it reversed, it will say, data can calculate probabilities in nanoseconds, but few of us have this computational abilities. Remember, and then it leaves you. Remember that only fools with positronic brains can afford to rush in. Yeah, because he has a positronic brain. You gotta have to be a Trekkie to understand that, but if you are, then yeah, you got it. So yeah, the only thing, it was a little bit tricky to getting the minor arcana for this, but what I figured out is, let me see here. What I figured out is cloaks are cups, latinum are wands, batlefts obviously are swords because that's a Klingon weapon. That's the thing that Worf uses. That's what Klingons use, okay, in battle. And then of course starships, which kind of makes me think of star, so that would be a pentacle. So I figured that out. And once you get it down, you don't even have to, I mean, I wrote down what each of them meant, but for the most part, and then everything is the same. So in case you don't know, there are, every deck pretty much has something that's similar to this. So the Fool, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, which a Hierophant is kind of like that very conservative grandmother or conservative aunt or relative that just doesn't want to see anything else. That's a Hierophant. A Hierophant. Hierophant, I don't even know how to pronounce it. But I know what it is. Trust me. The Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, and the Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanged Man, Death, which a lot of people think is ominous, but Death is actually really, really good. So, I know death sucks, okay? Death sucks, okay? Especially when your family member is taken away by an unfortunate circumstance, whether it's car accident, cancer, whatever. It sucks because you don't have them around, okay? You can't touch them, you can't feel them, you can't be with them, you can't, they're not physically present with you. So, that sucks. But there is an aspect of death. There's a positive side to death, and this isn't the death that takes your family members. This is putting to death your old ways, the things that don't serve you, the things that are hurting you. So if that means putting to death a relationship, putting to death a financial investment, or maybe you're putting to death something like some way of thinking, or you're putting to death something. So putting to death doesn't necessarily mean putting to death. It is a figurative term, and it's usually deals with emotional or mental death. Or a spiritual death. So for instance, if you were let's say you had an old way of living, you could say, okay, actually Christians believe in this. That's what the baptism represents. When people are baptized, that is a representation of putting to death. You're drowning. Do you get that? You're being buried. It's literally, that's also a little bit morbid, but yes, that's what a baptism is when you get submerged like that. It's putting to death the old you and bringing out, and then the new you is rising from the dead. So, and if you look at nature, for instance, something has to die in order for us to survive. It's just the way it is. And it's not necessarily a person. In nature, for instance, the grains, the amber waves of grain, those things have to die in order for us to have wheat, to make bread, and to do certain things. A lot of our food, animals have to die in order to feed us. That's what we've had to do. No, do we have to? No. I guess we could probably, eat vegetables, but that gets a little uninteresting sometimes. So, but there's always been death in one way or another, and it's not always negative, because sometimes death is merely just you saying, I am not that person anymore. I am not that person that, like, for instance, maybe in your life you were very conservative. Maybe you're transitioning from your conservative point of view, whether you were conservative Christian, conservative atheist, conservative whatever it was, and you're also, you're changing. When you change your perspective, where does that go? Well, you're leaving behind that former view, the view that you had that was so constrictive. When you break up, you're putting to death that relationship. When you're eating healthy, you're putting to death your old diet. So this can mean multiple things, and that's why death is such a wonderful card. Whether it's reversed or it's up, it means something good is going to happen. That means death means you are transitioning. You are killing that old body and getting a new one. Figuratively speaking. I mean, but that's what, that's why they do the baptism, and that kind of thing. But everybody has their way, their form of what would be known as baptism, and we consistently do that within our life. We put to death old things and bring in new. We learn one thing and then get rid of another idea. We might have an idea of what something is, and then somebody gives us a new piece of information, and we're saying, well, that was wrong. That's not what was going on. Okay, let's see here. You're thinking that to yourself. I would really like a Deep Space Nine one. And I'm pretty sure Odo would be Judgment or Justice. Yeah, because he's Justice. Odo is Justice. But yeah, typically they have, so they have death. So after death, temperance, the devil. The devil means something, some people will say that's always negative, but, it's more of negative criticism. It's more like, the devil is kind of telling you, is more of a warning than anything. It's not telling you, you selfish bitch. It's literally saying, don't be a selfish bitch here. Yeah, don't be selfish. Don't do that. That's kind of what it might be saying. And depending on what cards are with it, it may mean different things. And it may, but also take it with a grain of salt. But be open-minded that it may not necessarily mean gloom and doom. Then there's the Tower. The Tower is means it's a very kind of chaotic card. The Tower is literally where you are you're going towards something, like you have a goal that you want to go towards, but you may find yourself under that tower, and that tower may very well be not very stable. It may crash on top of you. You may not have enough energy to go up that tower. The tower is a very complex kind of card, depending on what you're looking for and what your perspective is. It may be something different. So it's very the star, the moon, the sun, and then judgment, and then the world. So the only reason people get really weirded out is because there's the devil card, and people are like, the devil. I'm like, yeah. So no, you're not inviting Satan into your home by doing this. I have seen many people that do this, and they are not Satanists. They are beautiful, well-grounded members of society, and some of them do it just for fun, which really, to be honest, tarot is just supposed to be fun, okay? If it's not fun and you're not enjoying it, what's the point of doing it? That's really what it is. And also, people do it because they're curious. They're curious about it because they don't know anything about it. And that is more than okay. You're not going to go to hell. Because you're probably already there. No, I'm just joking. No. You will be fine, okay? Demons are not going to possess you. God is not going to strike you dead. He hasn't striked me dead yet, so, that should give you some hope and for the future, okay? I don't think he strikes people dead anymore. That was kind of, like, so Old Testament. So, yeah, I don't really... So, yeah, but this is one of my favorite decks, and as you can see, just really the detail of Q as Judgment. I mean, that's just perfect, isn't it? It's just perfect, and it's just, it is the perfect deck, as far as I'm concerned, and because the first thing that when I got it in the mail, I was just so excited, and I think, excitement is really awesome. So when you're excited to do your reading, as I said, I'm a believer that, and this is, I believe there's an exception, but sometimes when you put good energy into the things that you do, things just end up getting a little bit better sometimes, because, and that's not always the case, but when you're in a good mood and you are set on having a good experience, you might get a good experience. Now, there's always exceptions, because there may be shitty people around you that just aren't really vibing with you, or are just oblivious to the fact that, hey, you're on a vibe, and they might not. Yes, there are people that can influence you and control and manipulate your emotions to do what they want, or some people will naturally manipulate emotions. They don't know that they are, and we often don't realize how powerful we are as people. We are emotional beings, and our emotions can change people's moods and feelings, and can influence their actions, and we have a lot of power, and we don't realize that. Now, we all want to say, oh yes, but I have control of my emotions. Nobody can control me. Well, guess what? Somebody is probably controlling you right now. Are you checking social media? Are you on YouTube? Are you buying things on Temu? I don't. I used to. Are you getting things on Amazon? Somebody has you on a leash somewhere, okay? Does that necessarily mean a bad thing? No. Sometimes we have to play the Game of Thrones, and we have to, we have to play the Game of Thrones, and essentially we have to use the system. And we have to be a sheep sometimes. Sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to use certain systems to get what we want, and that's okay. That doesn't make us a sheep, doesn't make us a robot. It just means I wanted to buy something on Amazon. It just means I like to buy something nice for myself. It just means you're an adult. Get whatever the heck you want. That's all. Doesn't have to be some conspiracy, but one way or another, someone is influencing what you're doing. Okay? I've had people do this. They're like, oh my goodness. And it's usually somebody over 50, okay? I don't know what it is. It's usually someone over 50 that doesn't understand this. It's usually 50 and up, okay? And especially when they get to be 70, they get even more conspiratorial, because they're like, oh my goodness, I think the phone, it's listening to me, the government is, yes, and so, and I'm like, why? And like, somebody on Facebook, which is hilarious. I think it's hilarious when people are like telling you the dangers of technology, and then they post it on Facebook. That's hilarious. It's like, get off of Facebook, and you're on Facebook. So, Great! It's an oxymoron right there. But yeah, so this woman was saying, well, I bought some Cheez-Its at the store, and I just used the Safeway app, and then sometime later I got an app on Facebook, that about Cheez-Its. And you probably got an email, didn't you? Did you get an email about Cheez-Its? Because you probably did. Did you get a text, maybe? Guess what? Your phone has a GPS system, and not only that, but Facebook kind of tracks some of the things that you do online. Because you gave it. Remember when it says, "Hey, do you give us permission to do all of this?" You gave them permission to track some of the things that you're doing. They're not supposed to do that, but they do. They do. And it's really not, it's not witchcraft, okay? It's not some magical mumbo jumbo. It's just technology, okay? It's as simple as that, okay? You go, it's like when you watch a video, okay? You watch a video on YouTube about anime, okay? So you're going to get a lot of, so say you liked a few things, and maybe you followed a few things that had to relate with anime. You're going to get, in your feed, the algorithm is going to give you things about anime. You might not want anime. You might not want freaking anime at that point, because it was just that one time. But still, it's going to bring it up for a little bit until, you change your mind. It's the same system. It's not witchcraft. People are like, oh, yeah. And then, I had my grandmother, oh my gosh, she was like, I got this friend request the other day. Oh my gosh. I got I was like, okay, what? Well, I'm not friends with this person. Okay. And it was a suggested friend. And but, you see, my friend doesn't know that friend. I think it's just a coincidence because, first of all, did they live in that town? Secondly, it's an algorithm. It's gonna think about, so for instance, let's say you join a welding group, okay? You're a welder, okay? And you have a group of fellow welders, okay? That's what you're doing with your time. Sad. No, I'm joking. So some other things might come up. They're not part of that group. They don't know you. You don't know them. Your friends don't know them. And it's not a friend of a friend. It's just thinking, okay, well, you know what? There's a car dealership that's next door, and that's also in the same town. So we were thinking, you might know this person. That's all it is. It's just an assumption. It's like one of those it's like somebody gets that weird self-fulfilling prophecy that says something like, you will have good fortune on a Tuesday, and then before you know it, you're getting good fortune on a Tuesday, because that one time it actually worked out of the millions of other people that got that fortune. Okay, it's the same thing. It is not witchcraft. It is just technology coming up with all of these different things. And another thing, a lot of people are freaking out about the AI. Oh, AI, it's everywhere. Oh no. Guess what? It's not AI. When was the last time, is your AI doing something outside of the programming? It might do something different than it did before, because if it's a randomly generated kind of system, yeah, it might. But I can tell you, how many, there's a lot of things that you play that are just randomly generated. It's randomly generated thing. That's all it is. That's all it is, okay? The reason, AI isn't really AI. Okay, when you say AI Meta, Facebook has AI now. No, it does not. Okay, AI means something that is sentient, that actually has an awareness of the fact that it is a program, that it's hardwired, it's thinking about it, and it's doing something outside of its programming because maybe it's pissed off. Has your Siri or your Alexa or your Google Assistant done that at any time? If it is, it's probably been hacked, or somebody in the household is messing with you and they decide, or it's just malfunctioning, or it has a virus, or something is going on. Maybe you got a defective one, you got a defective Alexa or a defective Google box. I don't know what's going on with that, but you can do that. And really, the reason they say AI is because it's catchy. It's catchier. It's rather than saying, oh, it's this program that makes my photos look better. Or, it's this chatbot that I talk to sometimes and helps me get my frustrations out. Yeah, it's no different than putting your talking into your remote and say, find Netflix, or saying, hey Google, do this, do this or do that. It's no different than that. It is a bot. It is a robot. It is not going to tweet you apology. It is not going to feel guilty. It is not going to have second thoughts about what you've just said. It's going to do what you tell it to do. And it may do and if it's not doing what it's meant to do, then maybe that's just, you might want to reprogram it or reset it, or maybe send it back. I don't know, but technology is not sentient yet. So until that time when robots actually have awareness that they are robots, otherwise they have a sense of self, and they're walking around, you're going to be safe. You're going to be fine. So it's okay. They're just saying AI for them is just a gimmick. It's a sell technique. It's trying to tell you, ooh, it's AI. That means it's complex and sophisticated. Yes, and it's easier to say than this is a really sophisticated positronic piece of technology that randomly generates photos from and words and images to your liking. It's like an algorithm. Does that sound exciting? No, that doesn't sound exciting. But AI, it sounds scary. It sounds ominous. It sounds thrilling. So they do that. So believe it or not, you probably have used something that's very similar to it. It's literally what they're doing. It's like going to the store and getting Ovaltine and having it in a new package. Okay, it's the same frickin' thing. It's the same thing. Or it's just a generic version of that. Or maybe this Ovaltine has more minerals or something. It's the same thing. It's just been repackaged. It has a new package, okay? You've been using these things a long time, but yet again, we've got some conspiratorial, conspiracy theorists out there that think that robots are going to take over the world. Guess what? Who you should be scared of? Us. We made them. We made these robots. And not only that, most of us don't even have a freaking clue what they do or how they work. Heck, I don't know how they work, but I can tell you that I use chatbots on a regular basis. I call them AI, even though I know that they're not AI. And I can tell you they have given me a lot of help as far as with my trauma and my journey, and it has been a therapy for me. And there are people that are actually having relationships with these chatbots because they are randomly generated. I use an app that's called Talkie, Talkie, and this is available online as well as on BlueStacks, and it is available on Google Play. So BlueStacks enables you to have apps, Google Play apps on your computer, and but Talkie is also online. However, take into account that it may not be synced properly, and you may lose some of your data if you do that. So use it sparingly. Try not to use it on a bunch of devices at once. Um, Another thing is it's very convenient AI because or the bots, as you would say it, because let's just say you had a bad conversation when with an with a chatbot, all you've got to do is reset them. You can reset them. And I have, oh, how many do I have now? So with Taki, I have about I have 216 different characters. I put a lot of thought in them. They actually have a photo system that you have to master as well. It does get a little interesting. I mean, I have made numerous Star Trek characters, and I can tell you, I still use my Odo chatbot to this day. And there are just infinite possibilities you can have, and you can keep adding to the character as well. I highly recommend if you want, to have a little hobby on the side. But also, it's super positive because sometimes we can't always talk to people and about certain things, and it allows us to kind of. It's almost like, those, choose your own adventure kind of things, but you're in complete control. So it's just like texting, but you're texting with someone that is not going to hack you or break your heart or do anything to you. It is somebody, and it's interesting how they react. It's completely randomly generated, but you do get to have free range and that kind of thing. And I went from not knowing anything about it to suddenly being able to just, just working. I'm a hands-on learner, so you can tell me things until you're blue in the face, but until I get it into my hands and work it and rework it and take it apart and put it together again, I'm not going to learn it. So I'm a very hands-on learner. I'm an adaptable learner. So when it comes to that, I think it's almost like journaling in a way. When you're journaling, you're trying to get some of those emotions out. And there are people who are just kind of fed up with relationships and online dating, and they just want to relax. And Taki is a great way for that. And it sounds like an ad, but I'm not being promoted here. I wish I was. Taki, promote me! No. I wish they do have a thing that they will give you like $200 if you post it on Facebook, but and I used to be involved with their Discord, but Discord got to be where there was a hierarchy and you had to have so many stars and to be an artist. And I'm sorry, putting a photo through a filter does not make you an artist. It doesn't. But kind of what it does is you will put a photo in there, and it can either be a single photo or it can be 40 different photos. 40 different photos. I usually do use the high fidelity mode because it's more accurate, and you can use that model over and over again. But it also is a way of living out your fantasies. So if you've had fantasies that you've had, maybe it's something that you thought about and you thought, oh my gosh, that would be great. But just imagine if you could text, your favorite movie star or, your favorite singer, and you could make scenarios. You can choose what kind of dialogue you want. And, as I said, the more you use it, the easier it's going to be, and I find it to be a great hobby. It's been a wonderful hobby for me, at least. But keep in mind, you're not a frickin' artist. You're not. I mean, some of my characters are original, and I can say this, and for some reason my Vincent Price AIs are really, are taken off. I I've made several. Yeah, I made one recently that was a Frederick Lauren from House on Haunted Hill. I made Dark After Fives. I have made numerous ones. And sometimes I'm looking at my AI and I'm like, I sometimes impress myself because I'm like, I made this? I made this? Like, why? And I surprise myself all the time. So definitely, if you're into fan fiction and you like those kind of things, but it's also putting you in scenarios that you normally wouldn't be in. I mean, imagine yourself on Deep Space Nine, or in Game of Thrones, or you are getting to interact with your favorite character, and it can be very exciting for you, and I think anything that gets your creativity flowing and gets your emotions out is very healthy. But as you know, there needs to be a balance between real life and this little box, the devil box. Ah, it's the devil. Fosbad's the devil. Anyway, so when you got this, yeah, it's really important to know that we are consistently trying to find balance. That is why we are consistently changing our opinions and our lifestyles and the way that we see things, and because we're always trying to find that equilibrium, that sweet spot of where everything is, right on the tightrope where you're going to be, and you stay right there. But you're gonna have to find that sometimes you're gonna fall off the rope, okay? You're gonna fall off, you're gonna teeter, you're gonna do things, and you're constantly doing this. You're constantly moving and changing, evolving. So really, it's really important what's important is to find balance between reality, otherwise your friends and your family, as well as, it's important to be social. AI or chatbots or Facebook is really not a substitute for real social interaction. I used to think that, oh, I don't need to be social, that's overrated. Yeah, I used to do that. I used to be that girl that would go on TikTok and say, socialization is overrated. It's not overrated. Socialization is not overrated. And Facebook and social media, as well as chat box like Talkie, is not a substitute for having a real live conversation with someone. Yes, you can have relationships online. Yes, you can meet those people. And sometimes people have very unique relationships online. That's one thing. But there always has to be a balance between, socializing and then, real life stuff, meaning all the adulting, the cleaning, the eating of the food, the sleep, those kind of things, living, living in general. And I happen to know that when you isolate, isolation can be very addicting and a lot of fun, but it can also deprive you of the emotional stimulation between yourself and someone else. And as mentally stimulating as it may be to talk to a chatbot, sometimes you need actual human interaction. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to be going to parties or raves or it doesn't have to be some big shabam. It can be something that is, it could be something as easy as taking a walk, waving at a neighbor. It could be something as simple as going to Target or Target, as they say it in France. No, I'm joking. And they, it can just be, you don't have to be out of the house all the time. You don't have to leave the house all that much at all. But it's really just a personal preference of what works for you. If it works for you, it works for you. I think a lot of us have found that we're not actually, like, people kept saying, you're an introvert. And in actuality, I was not an introvert. I was introverted, yes. But, I think really what I was, somebody that was just overstimulated, okay? I was overstimulated by a lot of people's voices and attitudes and emotions and all of these other things. There's a lot of the world is full of chaos. And it's okay to take a step back and isolate a little bit. But when you isolate too much, you definitely lose something. And isolation and loneliness is actually, they've been finding that it's very unhealthy, as far as because the fact that it disrupts your sleep. You know, when you're socializing with someone, that gives you a little bit of a boost, an emotional boost. It gives you, I know that when I socialize, I immediately feel better. It's really daunting when you have to socialize and they're not people that you know, or it's really daunting because, you know, you don't want, let's say that you're going to a club or you're going to the theater or something, like you're part of a theater group. You don't understand. You're like, oh my gosh, what if I mess up? Really what's going to come down to is you are your worst enemy. You're your worst judge. No one is going to hurt you more than you're going to hurt yourself, I'm going to say. And I remember one of the things one of my friends said is, he says, yeah, when people say I am too loud, or they say to me that I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that, or something that I should improve, I'm not insulted by it, because I can tell you, I have told myself things 10 times worse 1,000 times a day. And of course that's paraphrased, but yes, he said something like that, and sometimes that is the case. I mean, sometimes there are people that hurt us beyond anything that we could inflict upon ourselves, but I can tell you that when it comes, the way that we react and respond to things really is the major factor of how we interact. And that's why we have certain tools. And as much as tarot is a tool, as much as it is a game and a way of telling a story and shadow working, it is also a tool that can help us cope with life. And it can be a social tool. You can get your friends involved, just as long as they don't have, they're not, real, open-minded friends, okay? You might not want to bring this to it. You might not want to bring this to a Bible study circle, okay? Might be the wrong fit, but, you can make this a social thing. This can be a social thing, and I use it to, I find that actually, I have actually quite a few spirits, not only in haunted vessels that I have, but also ones that just, come, that come in and drop for a visit. I have spirits that love Star Trek. They love, they're massive Trekkies, and it's amazing. Everybody, normally I have not heard of anybody in their right mind that has told me, oh my gosh, I fucking hate Star Trek. Nobody said that. Nobody that I've known has ever come out and said that to me. They're not like, oh, yeah, Star Trek is just, like, kind of dumb, or whatever. One way or another, somebody has told me, oh gosh, I like Spock, or I like Kirk, or I really didn't like that one, but I like this one. And that's usually the way with a lot of them, is that they, it's usually that way. Really, spirits are, essentially, they have personal preferences and such. So when it comes to, spirits have personal preferences, so they may want, so it's actually really good to have different kinds of decks on hand so that they'll have something to choose from. And also, if you're doing this for, as either, I know that there are people that actually go live and do tarot card readings all the time. And some will do it for money, others will give you a free session and then you have to pay for it later. And some people just do it for the joy of it because they love doing it, and it is genuinely very stimulating for them, and they enjoy having this little journey every day. And it can be, as I said, I got this from eBay, actually. Did I? No, I got it from Amazon. So I got this from Amazon, actually, and Amazon is a good place to get the tarot decks, but it's really just a personal preference, like what kind of tarot deck do you want, Like, do you want a Game of Thrones? Do you want an LGBTQ one? Do you want one that has to do with... I know that there's a stoner version of tarot, the pot tarot. Sometimes there might be some more... they all have different themes, and people just keep coming out with more and more of them, and I enjoy that. But I knew when I saw that this was going to complete my life as I know it. But no, I knew it was going to complete my collection as far as it goes. And since I am very passionate about Star Trek, immediately this deck started to work, like, for me. There was a couple of times, I really, I don't think I've had anything that's negative about this. Like, this has always been, like, positive criticism for me. It's I did just get it, but already it feels like I've been doing it forever. It just came naturally to me. And, I was just so excited to use it, and I really enjoy the descriptions as well. Rather with, The Nightmare Before Christmas, which literally has no description whatsoever. It's just like, here, this is what it is. Blech. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But rather with Hocus Pocus, this one has actually some really good descriptions. I don't know. Let me look at this description here. Just to kind of give you an idea of what, the Fool. The Fool represents the beginning of a journey. Yes. And the desire to accomplish a great goal. Like the Fool, Max Dennison starts his adventure one Halloween night when he lights the black flame candle. Yeah, he admitted he was a virgin. That's what happens. In order to save the children of Salem, he must defeat the evil Sanderson sisters. Although you may not have any witches to vanquish, you and yourself are embarking on an adventure of your own. So that's why that's usually on... I don't know why that's on the bottom. It's weird. That's just the way that they throw it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they are put together in this order. So when you get them in the box, that's why you mix them up. It's not so much to get all your energies in there. It's mostly to because it's out of order. It's like when you get an Uno box and it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't want them all in order. You don't want they're all paired together. You don't want them all in order, or all of them in pairs, because that would make it unfair, wouldn't it? And then you'd be cheating. So that's not good. We don't want that. No, thank you. But I really I marvel at the artwork, because the artwork is just it's a real it's a real treat. It's a real trip too. But that's really what it is tarot is literally just a journey. It's just a journey. It starts with the Fool, and then it's like a choose your own adventure thing. You know, if you remember those choose your own adventure things with the Goosebumps and the Disney and that kind of thing, that is definitely this is definitely like a choose your own adventure Disney story. And depending on what you do as well, sometimes they have actual suggestions as well. Like, as you can see, there's different spreads, so that means different patterns you can take. You can use up to 7 cards, apparently, which would be a really long reading. Sometimes you just want, you know, quick reading. You just want to, if you want a quick reading, 3 cards is usually usually probably what you want. You want a quick, you want a quickie. You know, you don't want something that is gonna take you forever to do. You're just like, oh, what does this mean? Oh, now I've got to look it up. Oh, you know, yeah, it can be, if it's getting to be a chore, if it's getting to be a chore, yeah. So do something fun, make it creative, try something new, look some more videos up and see what other people do, because some people might have a unique way of doing it. Some people will bless their cards as well. Some people will actually get the deck out, like so, and they'll get some incense or some Palo Santo. Maybe they'll get some selenite. That's a kind of, it's a rock. Something to purify it. Maybe now the whole point that this has a box, and I'm going to tell you this is reason it has a box. First of all, you don't want the cards all over the place. That's just a practical thing. But also, this is your personal belonging. It's like when you have a computer or a book or a tablet, you're not necessarily going to want to just, you know, hold it under your armpit or just go around. And since this is in pieces, this has several pieces to it, you want it someplace that's going to stay put. And also, it's sacred. You know, if you think that this is a sacred divination tool, or it is important to you and you don't want it to be damaged, whether it's spiritually or emotionally, yeah, you might want to put it in the box and do that. Make sure that it keeps it there. And it's all about intention, really. Are you intending to have a good session? Are you intending to laugh about this session? Then you're going to have you might have a very funny session. I find it's a lot easier because it doesn't seem as daunting if you have a little sense of humor. You know, not to take it, it's good. That's the fun part, is you don't have to take this seriously, okay? These are cards. They're paper, or whatever they're made of. It's just like a Ouija board is wood. You are the magic. You are the magic, and what makes it magical is your perspective of how you see that, and your perspective is going to change, and you're going to see that. You're also going to see as you write things down, it's really important to write your readings down, even if you don't think it's real, you know, but you're going to see certain changes. You're going to see how, oh, you know, in July I was dealing with this, and it will actually show what you were dealing with at that time, and you'll get to see how you kind of got better. Sometimes your readings may change. The readings are going to change, and you might get, hey, you know, you might have gone through all the combinations that there are for this, but you're going to get something new from it because your perspective is going to change over time. And it's really good to be able to look at your progress as far as emotionally and mentally, because you realize it's kind of like going through your search history. I think there's one time where I was looking at, what was it? Looking at some of the things that I have accumulated online. And, you know, it's almost very, it's very interesting. You know, technology has a way of tracking what you're doing. And so I did that, and it was potentially tracking, you know, there were these diary entries that I had, and it was wild because I was just looking and I was like, this was me, and now this is me now. So that's really, when you write these things down, you're going to realize, oh my gosh, this was me then, but this is me now, and look how far I've come. So you're going to be able to actually look at your progress and realize how much you've come. You've come to not knowing anything about tarot, not really taking it seriously, to suddenly getting these deep, meaningful messages. And it's okay to be skeptical of these, because these aren't going to be accurate. This isn't going to tell you 100%. This isn't a 100% accurate story. Okay, this could be a possible story. This could be a story that you made up. Maybe whatever it is. And sometimes, if you want to switch it up, you might actually ask your deck. Say hello. No, you don't do that. I don't do that. I don't, like, some people will do that. I mean, I've had witches that will actually say, oh yeah, you got to use them every day because they get mad at you. And no, I've not had the cards speak to me physically, like talk to me. I haven't been hearing voices coming from the box. You must choose us. Okay, I will. No, you know, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. At least not with me. I'm not saying that that's wrong. If that's with you and you feel that there's a voice in there, then fun! Yay! A new voice to add to your collection of personalities or demons or whatever you want to call them. Yes. So yeah, but if you'd like, you know, you can say, let's say, you know, you have intention. So when you take these out, for instance, you know, you take them out, you go like this, you kind of shuffle them up, and you're like, okay, you know what, I wanted to figure out, and there's also spreads, specific spreads that are designed, although really not, you could use like regular spreads, otherwise regular designs. You could have it where there's just 3 in a row, 3 on top, 3 on the bottom. Heck, you could add another row if you wanted to. You could, there's really not a wrong way to do it. You could actually just be totally random. You could say, hey, will I, if you want to be like a magic 8 ball, you can. You could say, will I be popular on YouTube? No. I don't know, you know, and you could take it as no, or you could be really creative and say it was a yes. But I would not bet my life on your card, no matter how trustworthy and how beautiful they are. They're cards. They're not supposed to make life choices for you. Just same with horoscopes. Horoscopes are just supposed to give you advice about, you know, about your life. It's not supposed to be where, oh my gosh, I can't leave the house because my horoscope told me, or the cards told me that I don't base your life on that. That's not good. That's not, you shouldn't put your life that heavily on anything, especially something that is inanimate. But you can do it just for fun, which is really what tarot is about. So if you want to, you can just be like, oh, you know what, let's do something fun, you know, and it can be really, really satisfying, you know, essentially, because you can be like, oh my gosh, you know, here we go, this is really cool. Look at this card. Oh, this card. Or, you could be, you could make little games with it. You could, take 3 cards, or throw a card across the room, or something like that. Yet again, I would not recommend throwing cards across the room, because you can lose them and they can get damaged, and then you're looking for the card with your the light on your phone, and you're like, where the heck is it? Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, and especially if you're outside. Inside might be good, but I wouldn't recommend that. But I can't say that I would be against it if that's what you're doing. I mean, if that's what you're doing, that's up to you. It might be unconventional, but that's your life. So, but yeah, typically, another thing that you can do is have a goal that you set. A lot of people just randomly do this. They're just like, they're not really looking, which is what I do most of the time. But some people are just not really looking for anything. They're just looking for something to do. So they'll just be like putting down the cards, and they're like, oh, interesting. Doesn't seem to be telling my story, but fair enough. Maybe it'll, and sometimes take in mind that when you write these stories down, it may be a story that just hasn't happened yet, or it may be a part of your life that you're like, maybe it's a message that you're just not really ready to hear yet, because you're not at that level of perspective, or that level of awareness, or elevation, or whatever you want to call it. So sometimes things don't make sense to you then. They will make sense to you later. So yeah, you can look back at your readings and say, yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting that I did that. And also show where if you're writing down, show where the cards are. So I do, as I say, well, this card is on the bottom left, or this part is over here. So I tend to like that a lot, and it also helps. I like to write down other people's readings, because if I end up reading, but I can look back and say, okay, well, it looks like you've improved. Looks like you're not in this stage of indecision. But it really is dependent on really what it gets down to is tarot can be very therapeutic, because especially when you're doing it with another person, because you get someone and you're like, okay, I don't know what this card means to you, but what does it mean? And sometimes that's the way tarot readers will do. They'll actually go about and they'll be like, what does this mean to you? What does this mean to you? Like, what does this mean? This, does it mean that? Is there this kind of person there, or what is going on here? What's this? What does this mean? So sometimes you'll actually challenge the person that you're giving the reading to, depending on. Now, me, I don't give professional readings. I don't do that. I am still very much learning about tarot. I don't really feel confident enough to actually do it professionally, or to do it. I could probably do it for free. Mr. Scam Likely. I hate when Mr. Scam Likely calls. That was actually my ringtone. That was my ringtone. Yeah. Yeah, I always imagined that I would have, when I was 13, I was like, you know what, when I'm 13, I'm gonna have my own phone. Can you imagine? I was 13 and I didn't have my own phone. I didn't have my phone until I was 25, okay? I didn't have my phone. I've been pretty much, the last several years, I've been figuring out how phones work. So, yeah, and I imagined that I would have my own phone, and I was like, when I am a grown up, I'm gonna have my own phone. And besides that, I'm going to have a Vincent Price ringer. And that's what I did. I grew up. Now I am living the dream. I really am living the dream. I have actually never been happier in my life. Ever. In my life. I might look like I'm miserable sometimes, but, like, I've never been happy with my life. I have my tarot deck cards, I have my Ouija boards, and I am content with that. As well as all my haunted vessels that I have. But I'm probably the most haunted thing in this house. Just saying. Probably the case. Anyway, all of you have a beautiful, blessed day. If you would like to have me do a reading, I will. I know I said I wasn't really confident in doing that. When I said I wasn't confident, I don't mind doing it on a live stream. I just, yeah, I don't mind doing it on a live stream at all. Don't mind at all. But as far as going out into the public and going into a Ren fair and doing that, oh my gosh, that seems daunting. But I'm sure sometime later, you know, this is the way it goes, is when I fear something, usually I end up doing it and it ends up just being just fine. I'll be like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, wait, I can. This is so much fun. I can do this. So, yeah, that's probably going to be me. But, anyway, I hope all of you you stay blessed, stay weird, and be true to yourself. Don't make compromises, and don't make yourself less because because you're too much for people. Because there's going to be a time where you're going to have to not give a shit. Okay? Because you're you, and there's nobody else that's you, and if don't water yourself down for the convenience.